Let's set the scene. The year is 1800. A Scottish explorer, an officer with the British East India Company, is making his way through the rocky terrain of South India. The local guides he's with start telling him about this enormous ruined city nearby, the overgrown capital of a long-dead empire. So what does he do? He decides he's got to go check it out. That explorer's name was Colin Mackenzie, and what he found was just staggering. In his journal, he talks about wandering through this vast, totally forgotten metropolis. He's seeing grand stables built for elephants, huge baths where kings once relaxed, and aqueducts that, as he put it, were destroyed with much industry. It's like someone put a lot of work into tearing this place down.
You know, the people who lived in the area had a really simple, almost haunting name for what was left. They just called it Alpatoon, the ruined city. All of its glory was just a distant memory, buried under layers of earth and completely overgrown.
So as Mackenzie is there, sketching out the very first map of this incredible site, you have to imagine one single question was just burning in his mind. The exact same question we're asking today. How could a civilization this grand, this obviously powerful, just disappear?
Okay, so we're kind of starting our story at the end, right? With the rediscovery of this lost world. Because to really wrap your head around how this magnificent city fell, you first have to get a sense of the sheer scale of what was lost.
All right, now let's rewind the clock. Way back. To understand the city's incredible rise, we really need to look at the chaotic world it was born from. So, back in the 14th century, the dominant power in India was this huge Islamic empire called the Delhi Sultanate. But, and this is a big but, it was tearing itself apart. The ruler, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, was brilliant, but also deeply paranoid and tyrannical. After he died, the whole thing just crumbled. And then in 1398, the warlord Taimur came in and delivered the final blow, sacking Delhi and leaving this massive power vacuum behind him.
But you know, a period of immense suffering can also be a time of incredible opportunity. And into all this fire and chaos stepped two brothers, Harihara and Bukka. They saw their chance to build something new, a great Hindu kingdom that could rule the south.
They built their capital right on the rocky banks of the Tungabhadra River, and the name they gave it, well, it was a statement of pure, uncut ambition. Vijayanagara, the city of victory.
And a city of victory, it absolutely became. I mean, for the next 200 years, this place didn't just grow. It exploded, becoming one of the most magnificent and populated cities on the entire planet.
Just look at that number, 500,000. At its height, right around the year 1500, that was the estimated population of Vijayanagara, 500,000 people. We're talking about a sprawling, booming metropolis.
Now, to really get your head around that number, you have to see it in context. At the same time, London had maybe 50,000 people. Vijayanagara was 10 times bigger. It was more than double the size of Paris, which actually made it the second largest city in the entire world, right after Beijing.
And it wasn't just big, it was beautiful. We have these amazing accounts from travelers, like a Portuguese guy named Domingo Paes, who visited around 1520. He was just floored. He climbed a hill to get a good look at the city and said it was as large and as beautiful as ancient Rome.
And the markets, all the city's bazaars were legendary. They were packed with merchants selling every luxury you could imagine. Rubies, diamonds, emeralds, pearls, the finest silks, and, really crucially, powerful war horses that were being imported from Persia and Arabia. This place was a true global hub of commerce and incredible wealth.
You know, every great empire has its golden age. That one moment where everything is just perfect. For Vijayanagara, that came under its most famous and powerful ruler, a man whose greatest triumph would, ironically, sow the seeds that would ultimately doom his city.
King Krishnadeva Raya. He took the throne in 1509, and he was a really complex guy, a published poet, obsessed with physical fitness, and an absolute military genius, with a very, very ruthless streak.
His defining moment came in 1520, at the Battle of Raichur, and at first it was a total disaster. His army got routed by the superior cannons of the rival Sultan of Bijapur. But Krishnadeva just refused to lose. He personally rallied his men, and here's where you see his brutal side. He commanded his generals to slaughter their own fleeing soldiers to force them to turn back and fight. It was harsh, but it worked. The tide turned, and the enemy was completely wiped out.
It was a stunning victory. It cemented Vijayanagara as the supreme power in South India, no question. But it also fed the king's enormous ego. So you have to ask, what happens when a victory that big goes to your head?
Well, he wasn't content with just winning. He had to make a point. Krishnadeva made a fateful decision. He marched his army deep into enemy territory and actually occupied Bijapur, the rival sultan's capital. His army then basically demolished the city, burning its beautiful buildings for firewood.
Now, this act was way more than just a military victory. It was a profound, deliberate humiliation of his rivals. And that humiliation, it would trigger a chain of events that would lead, inevitably, to disaster.
I mean, listen to this. When the other neighboring sultans warned him not to overreach, Krishnadeva's response was pure defiance. He basically dared all of them to fight him, promising to march right into their lands and find them himself.
And here's the ultimate irony in all this. Krishnadeva's arrogance achieved something that decades of rivalry never could. He gave the fractured, bickering sultanates a common enemy, a powerful reason to finally put their differences aside and unite. The destruction of Bijapur was a seed that would grow into a devastating storm.
And that brings us right back to our central mystery. The seeds of the city's destruction were sown not in a moment of weakness, but at the very height of its power. How could the City of Victory, in its most triumphant hour, set itself on a path to becoming Al Patoon, the ruined city?